Alright, hey guys, it's me again, and today we're going to talk about Saren's new augment, Revealing Spores, and what it does is it marks enemies on the minimap that are affected by spores. Now you're probably thinking, well, why not just use an enemy radar mod? And the way this differs from enemy radar is that instead of marking the enemies red on the minimap, they are marked green. Now honestly, I was pretty skeptical before using this mod, but actually it's a pretty good augment that I'm going to be using full time on my main Saren build. So here's the build, and what I've done with my Saren build is just I've replaced Regenerative Molt for Revealing Spores. And I did that because I'm going to be honest, I don't really use Molt anymore, especially when they took away the functionality of you being able to cast, spores on it. And there are way better healing alternatives, like the Vazarin Focus School, for example, or Protective Dash. So there's no real reason to keep this on here. Now, this augment doesn't change Saren's playstyle at all, but what it does is allows you to be way more efficient with your spore casts. Like, you can keep your spores up for a very, very long time with just a single cast of spores. You don't have to go searching for corrosive procs anymore, nor do you have to look on your meter to tell you how many enemies are affected by spores. You can just bring up your big map, and you can see everyone that's just affected by spores. So it's going to basically tell you where you need to cast your Toxic Lash or where you need to cast your Miasma to keep the spore chain going. Now you're probably wondering why I'm not in the Simulacrum, and to be honest, to show you this probably wouldn't make a whole lot of sense in the Simulacrum. So that's why I'm out here, and I'm just going to do a solo ESO run. Alright, so I'm in ESO here. I'm going to cast my Toxic Lash, cast a Spore on this enemy, and spread it, and you see on my map here, everything is green. So basically my goal here is to just get rid of the red. And where I see a lot of red and some green next to it, I'm just going to shoot my Toxic Lash weapon, which in my case is the Ogress, right? And if I'm trying to reload, I'll just use Miasma instead, because there's a lot of red there, and I'm just going to keep going. Now the only thing you really have to pay attention to is your Toxic Lash timer, and maybe your cooldown on Miasma if you use it too much and some air shuts it off. Because I prefer spreading my spores with Miasma personally. But you can just look at the minimap because you have just full 360-degree coverage of where spores are being affected by the enemies. Now you can also see that sometimes it's not your fault, and sometimes all the enemies die and they don't spawn in time, which is also very useful information. Now I feel like this is actually the smartest way they could have gone about a spore augment, because the other way D could have gone is they could have just gave us back the spore spread on spore kills thing that used to be a part of the old Saren as an augment, but that would literally just be a mandatory mod for Saren because there's literally no reason not to use it at that point. And if they would have did that, a lot of people would have been pretty pissed off, and honestly they would have been justified if DE would have went down that route. So I feel like for DE this is actually a pretty smart idea for them to go down the route of this, where it's not like it makes spores more lethal, but it makes it just easier to use, and it's still a general improvement overall. Now, I guess the other route they could have went is that you could hold the spores and they explode or something, but I don't know about that. But I feel like that kind of would just be pointless in some parts, because the whole reason of having spores is just keep them up at all times and spread the damage around. But having I don't know. It's just an idea that came to mind. But yeah. Now sure, it doesn't make Saren more lethal. It doesn't change her role or her play style at all. It's just sort of a quality of life improvement. And I think this one's actually worth taking. So I actually think this augment is pretty good, and I'm going to be keeping it on my main Saren build for the most part, because it saves me a lot of time and energy. Now this mod isn't going to hurt you by not having it, so if you don't have room on your Saren build, if you're running say an Umber build or something like that, then I can totally understand not running this augment. But I think give it a shot, give it a try. If you don't like it, that's fine. Anyway guys, that's all for me. I want to thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.